everyone, welcome back to Mrs. J's Cooking. Today we're making a really easy recipe that you should be able to make with the staple ingredients in your home, pancakes. This is a super simple, very basic recipe, but it is a great way to practice your measuring skills and just familiarizing yourself with the kitchen tools. Some tools you need is the 1 cup dry measuring cup, the 1/2 cup measuring spoons, a straight edge spatula, liquid measuring cup, whisk, ladle, mixing bowl, and a griddle. Now that you've seen the kitchen tools, let's get started. What we need to start with is a mixing bowl. You also need to have your whisk ready as well as any of your measuring equipment. Also, always make sure you get out all of your ingredients ahead of time so they're ready to go. And for your griddle, if you have an electric griddle for cooking pancakes, you can use that. I have one for on my stovetop, or if you don't have one of these, you can just use a frying pan. I'm gonna put this on my stove, but I'm not going to turn this on yet. I wanna wait until I'm ready with my batter. Now that we have everything ready, what we're gonna start with is cracking our egg. We're simply just going to crack the egg into the bowl first. That way we can whisk it around and add our other ingredients to it. Once you've added the egg, then what we need to do is add 1.5 cups milk. We will also add a teaspoon of vanilla and 2 tablespoons of oil. We'll bring those together and then we'll start adding our dry ingredients. Our next ingredients are going to be our dry ingredients. So if you decide to mix this together in a separate bowl, you could do that. I'm actually just going to pour this right in with our other ingredients we have here. And because this is a pour batter that you can actually pour, there are equal ratios of liquid to flour. So we already have our 1.5 cups of milk, and we're going to actually add 1.5 cups of flour and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Then we're going to add our leavening agents. Now that we've added those ingredients, we are going to add in the leavening agent as well as the salt. If you remember from class, leavening agent is what makes our recipe light and fluffy. It's going to let it rise up. So for this actual pancake recipe, we are going to use both baking soda and baking powder. So first off, I'm going to add baking powder. Now this recipe calls for more baking powder, so you don't have that baking soda flavor to your pancakes. I'm gonna take off my lid, and I just need 1 teaspoon of this. If you remember, it's very important to level off your ingredients. So we're gonna get our teaspoon, and if you notice that baking soda actually has a leveler right on there. So I'm going to just scoop this in and level this off. If you remember from our lessons previously, baking powder works twice. It's a double acting agent, which is really cool. It works first with an acid in the recipe. For this one, it would be lactic acid from the milk. And then it works a second time whenever heat is applied. So whenever we put our pancakes on the griddle, it will rise again. Next, I need to add some baking soda, and we only need, let's get the extra off here. We only need 1/2 teaspoon of our baking soda. So we'll just make sure there's not any lumps in there, and scoop this out. Now baking soda only reacts once, so it will react with the milk in our recipe, the lactic acid, and it will help make those pancakes nice and fluffy. Our final ingredient we need to add is just a little bit of salt, and that's only 1/4 teaspoon. Salt will complement some of the other flavors in the recipe as well as work with that leavening agent. Make sure you don't pour the salt directly over your recipe. Use a separate container to pour that over. And then as always, we want to make sure we are leveling off these ingredients so you don't have too much in there. At this point, we're ready to mix our ingredients. So we're just going to use our whisk and combine all of our dry and liquid ingredients together. Now, you do not want to overmix pancakes or they'll be too tough. If you remember, the more you mix it, the more gluten will form, which can toughen up your recipe. So mix it until it's just combined. There might still be a few lumps in there, and that's okay. So here's our pancake batter. You can see that it is ready to pour. Check for any really big lumps, and I think that looks perfect. So at this point, we are going to need a ladle, which I have here. Once again, now that our batter is ready to go, we need a ladle, and I have my special ladle. This is actually one that I bought that's a little sea serpent, like the Loch Ness Monster. There's all kinds of really cute kitchen tools that you can find online. So I have this little guy. This is what we're gonna use to pour it onto our griddle. I'm gonna start the stove in just a minute. But one other thing, some people like to add different ingredients to their recipes. One of my students in the past, Connor, absolutely loved blueberries. And I always told him when I would make my pancake video that I would make sure I would say hi to him. So hi, Connor. But we're gonna add some blueberries to these. If you don't like blueberries, maybe like my daughter, you like chocolate chips added, or maybe you like them just plain because you know what, they're sweet enough and they have a great flavor that you could just add a little bit of maple syrup to them and they are delicious, or some fresh strawberries. Pancakes are a really versatile breakfast item, so it's really nice when you make them because you can make them however you like them. At this point, what I'm gonna do is get them on the griddle and start cooking. Now that we have our griddle nice and hot, and you can check that by getting a little water on your hand and just flinging some water on there. If the bubbles dance around, it is ready to go. And just simply ladle your pancake batter carefully on each corner of the griddle, or you can just make one great big pancake in the center. It depends on how you like to make your pancakes. If you really wanted to, you could even make a Mickey pancake, which is one big pancake and two little ones, just like their Mickey ears. All right, now, maybe you're one of those people that like some of those extra ingredients. Like I mentioned before, my daughter loves chocolate chips, so I'm just gonna sprinkle just a little bit of chocolate chips here. And then, oh, everyone, Winston decided it was time to eat. Now, blueberries, like Connor likes, you can put those in. Now, if you wanna mix these in your batter, feel free to do that. I like to have one side of my pancake cooked enough before I actually add in any additional ingredients, because this other side is almost ready, so we can flip them over. Now, how do you know if your pancake is ready to flip? Think about that for a second. If you watch, our pancakes are starting to get little air bubbles, and once it has enough bubbles on here, then you know, and along the edges you can tell that the edges have a nice crispy edge to them, that you should be able to just flip those up. So now what I'm gonna do, once it gets just a little bit more bubbles, I'm actually gonna flip these over. Now that I have the perfect amount of air bubbles on here, I'm ready to flip. So I'm gonna actually start with this one and just get my turner under there and gently flip that over and work my way around. You gotta be very careful because as you can see, they go cruising across the griddle. Just a very easy flip. Now this other side does not take quite as long to cook. So about half the time it took for your first side, You can hear the sizzling going on. That's the blueberries cooking and the chocolate melting. So one thing that's a little bit challenging is if you do add the chocolate, your griddle's gonna need re-cleaned before you finish cooking. Now that our pancakes are finished, we have a nice plate of a few pancakes. Just continue using the batter until you've made all your pancakes. Remember, you can make them medium size, you can make them like little silver dollars, or you can make them great big. That's up to you and however you like them. In the comments below, I would love to know what your favorite topping for pancakes are. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.